Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Simone, and this is my contribution to the book review on Race, Rhetoric, and Technology, Searching for Higher Ground by Adam Banks. As a social studies teacher, I found this book to be quite interesting, especially with the numerous references to various figures in African American history. The concept of the digital divide is one that I was familiar with prior to reading this book. However, I certainly did not consider the ramifications of how racism played a role in the digital divide. Early in the book, Banks says this nation will have to be transformed if true equality and justice are to mean anything for African Americans. And that's really the overriding theme of how he views the role of technology and our definitions of rhetoric in the context of the movement for African American equality, or really just any racial equality. The readings and discussions in this class are certainly encouraging me to redefine my definition of traditional literacy. But the book played a key role in helping me to understand how so many students of color are being left behind by the digital divide. While technology, was intended to serve as a bridge to close the achievement gap, it's actually only exacerbated the problem. The digital tools are being distributed and utilized differently from one district to another. Race and socioeconomic status sadly often determine how well the tools are being implemented in the classroom. This quote from Banks illustrates how we really can't have an all or nothing view on the role that rhetoric and technology play in educating our students. He says, one reason I argue for the necessity of such a multidimensional view of rhetoric and technology access is my belief that one cannot afford to be forced to choose between rhetoric and composition, between skills and critical thinking, between technological literacy and essayistic literacy, between being a technophile or a Luddite. And I did enjoy the reference to the Luddites, the individuals in the late 1800s and during the Industrial Revolution of England, when they destroyed machines due to their aversion to technology. I think we have to be very careful not to assume that if technology is simply provided in the classroom, that the digital divide goes away. And this quote kind of illustrates that view. He's very critical of how technology is being used by school districts and not promoting the literacy skills that we spent so much time focusing on in this class. There were two examples or two references during, I believe, the President Bush years that were rather offensive. One was an FCC chair, Michael Powell, who said, I think there's a Mercedes divide. I'd like to have one, but I can't afford one. I think it's that type of thinking that only promotes the racism that people say is infesting our political system. And then another one was when the Department of Commerce removed from its website falling through the net reports and really trying to just not talk about the digital divide at all in the United States. And that reminded me a little bit about after 2016, when President Trump and his administration took down from its website any reference to the LGBTQ movement, any reference to civil rights, and any reference to climate change. Banks' overall argument is very sound, and it's very compelling that we really do have to address the inherent racism that exists in our schools, largely with the digital divide. But for me, the debate is really about solutions. And he does make a reference to President Obama's, he wasn't president at the time, Congressman Obama's 2004 speech at the Democratic Convention. And you can tell that he's a little bit critical of some of the information in the speech. Now, Obama received tremendous praise for its rhetorical skill. However, in terms of content specifically for African Americans, some people were critical. And I did, in the back of my mind, I was constantly thinking that this book was written before Obama was elected. This is a speech that I've used in my class with the AP English language teacher to evaluate it for its rhetorical devices. And it also just made me think about a more recent debate about Obama's legacy that took place. It became like a Twitter war between Princeton professor Cornel West and the writer for The Atlantic, Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now, these are two people that I personally admire, look forward to listening to, reading whenever I get the chance. But they were fighting about Obama's legacy. West being more critical of Obama not doing enough to promote African American rights, and Ta-Nehisi Coates saying that this was a very significant, his election was a significant movement in the struggle for equality. I think that's the debate we have to have, not only in this class, but as educators. How are we supposed to deal with the digital divide? How are we supposed to deal with the fact that many of our African American students and many of our poor students in the country are just not receiving the same educational opportunities as everyone else? I could talk about this for a while, but I don't think everybody wants to listen to it right now. So hopefully I'll be able to phone in to the class tonight. And if not, I hope you enjoyed the class, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you very much.